My name is Mark Ogilvie and I'm the design director for Runescape. That means that I get to help shape all of the content that we make and make sure it's the best it possibly can be for the players. I celebrated my 10-year anniversary last week, and we were quite a small company back then. We were very much in the kind of realms of the startup company. I was staff member number 14, and obviously there's more than 400 of us these days. We were a very small company. There were only 2 or 3 offices in a building not too far away from here, and everyone was kind of getting their hands dirty really. Everybody was involved with every single update that we did. We had a very small number of staff who would look after our customers, look after password requests and things like that, and an even smaller team who are actually dedicated to developing the game. So it's a very free environment. We were encouraged to come up with our own ideas. All of the developers would have a very limited documentation procedure. So a lot of the ideas that we were coming up with, we would create using the tools and the systems that we had, see what was fun, see what we enjoyed, see what worked for the game. We were still experimenting with the engine back there as well. So we're all sort of commands and ideas that we were coming up with that the engine simply wasn't capable of doing. So we would ask for new requests, new script commands that the engine team could give us to make our content. Ultimately, as a designer, I want to make sure that all of my team have the capacity to put their own stamp on any of the content that they produce, so that the players can recognise the developers that actually made the content, but also so that we can make sure that we've got those kind of tendrils that connect all of our different pieces of content together and that they're working properly. You know, if you've got the right people involved in the right projects, then you can make sure that you're being proper to the heritage of the game. You don't want to create a new storyline that completely treads on the toes of all the other storylines that exist. And if you think about it, we're juggling about 40 or 50 storylines at any one time. We use a lot of our own references to create the game. And that sometimes is just simply walking down the road into the middle of Cambridge and looking at the architecture that we've got. You know, Lumbridge, which is the kind of first place that a lot of players visit when they come to RuneScape. That's actually built around the concept of Cambridge. A lot of the artwork that you see there, the style of the castle, even the kind of orientation of the river, Lum, is very similar to the orientation of the River Cam through Cambridge. We have a lot of references to things like Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace, with a lot of the architecture that we have throughout the game. There are also a lot of comedic references that we have within the game, whether or not that's traditional things that people would say is very British, like Monty Python, but I think you got a bit of Red Dwarf in there as well, you know, and there are a lot of styles that we use are very British. Storytelling, for example, there are different styles of storytelling that you have throughout the world. I think the old school, gathered around the campfire storytelling style that is fundamentally British, or very English, or very kind of northern, we try to reflect that within the storytelling that we have in the game. We've been doing a lot more retrospectives as well, where we're looking more carefully at the changes that we've made in the past so that we can make the right decisions in the future. We've also recently been setting up a lot of surgeries or councils with the players, not just in-game, but also face-to-face here in the building. It's really important to me to be able to communicate to people face-to-face. I think one of the big problems of the internet is everything's text, and it's really impossible, it's almost impossible to convey emotions and things like that through text alone. And so I much prefer to work face-to-face with people and getting our PMods in to help us decide the right things about how we use our player moderation, the kind of powers that they have, talking to our various different groups of players, our fan sites, you know, doing these things face-to-face in the building ideally, via video links if we have to. But it gives me a better idea of what's going on, how the players are feeling about things, and how best we can make changes. Ultimately, if I get more passion out of my developers by giving them the freedom to be able to explore their creativity, then I'm going to get more passion from my players if we give them the ability to tell us what they want.